The city looked like it was dressed for a celebration that night, and the tallest glass building in town shined with bright lights and moving shadows inside. The annual business gala was happening there, and it was the kind of event where people smiled wide while hiding sharp thoughts behind polite words. Cameras waited outside, and every important guest wanted to be seen walking in with confidence. Inside the hall there were long tables with neat decorations and soft music that sounded expensive. People spoke about new projects and future plans while workers moved quietly with trays and glasses. Everything felt perfect on the surface, and that was exactly why Ron loved it. Ron arrived in a dark car and stepped out like someone who believed he owned the moment. He fixed his suit and gave a small smile to the cameras. A few people called his name and he enjoyed the sound of it. He had worked for years to be invited to this place. He wanted to be seen as successful and untouchable, and tonight he planned to shine even brighter. On his arm was a woman named Myra, and she looked like she belonged on a magazine cover. She wore a stylish dress and her hair was perfect, and she waved as if she had been born for flashing lights. Ron liked how she looked beside him because it made him feel admired and important. No one on the carpet asked about Ron's wife. That was because Ron had carefully made sure his wife was not part of his public life anymore. Her name was Anya. She was simple and quiet, and she did not chase attention. Ron had once liked that about her when they were young and struggling together. Back then her calm nature felt like peace. But as Ron grew more ambitious, he started seeing her calm as weakness. He started seeing her simple life as something that could embarrass him. He did not say those words out loud to many people, but he carried them inside his mind like a secret rule. He told himself that he needed a partner who looked like success, not someone who reminded him of where he started. Anya had not argued much when Ron began staying late at work more often. She had not yelled when he missed small family dinners. She had just watched his distance grow like a wall between them. Sometimes she tried to talk and Ron responded with short lines and cold eyes. At home she wore plain clothes and she kept the place tidy, and she cooked meals that were warm and simple. Ron slowly stopped seeing those things as love. He started seeing them as proof that she did not fit into his new world. He never asked what she did during the day. He never asked what she was working on. He assumed she was just living quietly behind him while his life became louder. That night Ron did not even tell Anya that the gala was happening. He left the house early and said he had a work event. He did not ask if she wanted to come. He did not think she deserved a seat beside him in a hall full of rich people. He wanted to walk in with Myra instead because Myra looked like the kind of woman his business friends would praise. Myra knew how to talk about money and brands and big names. She knew how to laugh at the right time. Ron told himself he was only keeping things simple. He told himself this was just one night and it did not matter. Inside the hall, Ron and Myra moved through the crowd like they were a powerful couple. Ron shook hands and Myra smiled. People complimented Ron on his growth and his company and his future. He liked the way their words fed his pride. Myra leaned close and whispered that everyone was watching them, and Ron smiled back. He felt like he had won something. The night was going exactly how he wanted. They were seated near the front because Ron's company had recently become a sponsor. That meant he was not just a guest. He was someone the organizers wanted to keep happy. Myra crossed her legs and looked around with bright eyes. She enjoyed the attention and she enjoyed the feeling that she had stepped into a life she had always wanted. Ron glanced at the stage and then at the screen behind it. He expected a long, boring speech from someone older. He leaned toward Myra and quietly said they could leave early after the main part because he did not want to waste time listening to talk that would not benefit him. Myra nodded and smiled as if she agreed with everything he said. The host walked onto the stage with a confident voice and the music softened. He welcomed everyone and thanked sponsors and talked about the importance of leadership and community support. People clapped politely and some leaned in as if every word was gold. Ron clapped too, but his mind was on other things. He was thinking about new contacts and future deals. He was thinking about being noticed. He was not thinking about consequences. Then the host lifted his hand and said the key speaker of the night would be someone special. He said the speaker was known for changing the way people think about business and growth. He said the speaker had built a name quietly and steadily and was now respected across the region. The room became more focused. Some people sat straighter. A few guests whispered like they already knew the name. Ron's interest rose a little because he did not want to miss a chance to impress an important person. The host paused for effect and then he announced the name. Anya. For a moment Ron thought he had heard wrong. His face stiffened. His hands stopped moving. His chest tightened as if someone had pulled a rope around it. Myra looked at him and her smile weakened because she could tell something changed. Ron did not answer her. He stared at the stage with a blank expression and his thoughts ran fast and messy. Anya was his wife. Anya was at home. Anya was not a public person. Anya did not stand on stages. That was what he believed. That was what he repeated inside his mind for years. Yet the host had said her name with pride and the crowd reacted like it was a big moment. The side door opened and a woman walked onto the stage with calm steps. The lights followed her. The room began to clap loudly. Some people even stood up. Ron's eyes widened as the woman came closer to the microphone. It was Anya. But she did not look like the woman Ron had ignored. She carried herself with quiet power. Her outfit was not loud but it was elegant and clean. Her hair was neatly styled. Her face looked calm and focused. Her eyes held confidence and not the kind that begged for approval. It was the kind that came from knowing who you are. Ron felt his stomach drop. He could not breathe properly. He looked around and saw people nodding at Anya like they respected her. He heard a man behind him whisper that her work had helped many businesses survive hard times. He heard another person say she was the mind behind a program that supported small workers and helped families stand back up. Ron's head spun. He had never heard any of this because he never bothered to listen. At home Anya did not talk much about her work because Ron always acted too busy. If she mentioned anything he would change the topic. He had been living beside her like a stranger while the world was learning her name. Myra finally spoke in a low voice asking Ron who that woman was. Ron did not answer at first. His mouth was dry. His throat felt tight. He could feel sweat under his collar. He realized the truth was not just that Anya was here. The truth was that Ron had walked into this room holding another woman's arm while his wife was about to stand as the most respected person of the night. The shame he had hidden inside himself suddenly rose to the surface and turned into fear. Anya reached the microphone and waited for the applause to settle. She looked out over the crowd. Her eyes moved across faces slowly. Then they reached Ron's table. For a brief second her gaze stopped. The room felt silent to Ron even though people were still clapping softly. He expected anger in her eyes. He expected pain. But what he saw was something colder and stronger. It was control. It was the expression of someone who had already accepted the truth and decided not to beg anymore. Ron's hands shook slightly under the table. Myra's posture stiffened. She began to understand that she was not the main woman in Ron's life like she had been told. The air between them turned heavy. Ron tried to swallow but his mouth stayed dry. He wanted to disappear. He wanted to rewind the night and choose differently. But the doors were closed and the spotlight was on the stage and the truth had already walked into the room. Anya leaned toward the microphone and smiled gently at the audience. The hall grew quiet as everyone prepared to listen. Ron sat frozen as if his body refused to accept what his eyes were seeing. The woman he had been ashamed of was not only present. She was the star. She was the voice everyone came to hear. And whatever she said next could lift him up or destroy him in front of everyone he tried to impress. Anya began to speak with a calm, steady voice that filled the hall without any effort and every person in the room leaned in to listen. She did not shout and she did not try to impress with big words, yet her voice carried weight because it came from a place of truth and long work. She spoke about how true growth was not only about money but about people and how strong companies were built when leaders respected every hand that helped them rise. Her words felt warm and sharp at the same time and the audience nodded because they could feel she knew what she was talking about. Ron sat stiff in his chair and every sentence she said felt like it was aimed straight at him even though she never looked at him again. His mind was spinning with memories of how he had ignored her ideas at home and how he had brushed away her quiet comments about fairness and long-term planning. He remembered times when she tried to explain something she was working on and he would look at his phone or rush out of the room. Now those same ideas were being praised by people who ran big companies and he felt small sitting there beside Myra. Myra tried to look calm but her eyes kept moving between Ron and Anya. She could sense the truth even without being told. This woman on the stage was not just someone from Ron's past. She was his wife. The one he never mentioned. The one he hid. Myra felt a strange mix of anger and fear because she realized she was part of something messy. The proud feeling she had earlier began to slip away like sand through her fingers. Anya continued speaking and she shared stories about small teams who had been ignored by big leaders and how giving them respect changed everything. She talked about listening instead of controlling and building instead of showing off. Each example she gave was simple yet powerful and the crowd reacted with quiet respect. Some people even took notes. Ron felt like his chest was getting tighter because her words were pulling down the walls he had built around his pride. He glanced around and saw people he wanted to impress nodding at Anya and whispering how wise she was. He saw a man he once begged for a deal now watching her with admiration. Ron wanted to stand up and walk out but his legs felt heavy. He knew if he left now people would notice and questions would rise. He was trapped in his own choice. Anya paused for a moment and took a sip of water then continued. She spoke about how leaders sometimes forget the people who stood by them when they had nothing. She said success had a way of changing hearts if they were not careful. The room stayed silent because everyone felt the truth in her words. Ron felt his face grow warm. It felt like she was telling his story without using his name. He had been that man who forgot where he came from and who helped him when he had nothing. Myra leaned closer and whispered that she needed to go to the restroom. Ron nodded without looking at her. She stood and walked away slowly. She needed space to breathe and think. Sitting there beside Ron while his wife shined on stage felt too heavy. For the first time that night she did not feel like the chosen one. She felt like a mistake. Ron watched her leave and he did not try to stop her. His eyes stayed fixed on Anya. He saw her confidence and he realized how wrong he had been. She was not weak. She was not plain. She was powerful in a quiet way that did not beg for attention. She had been growing while he was chasing empty praise. Anya shared how she had built her work by listening to people and understanding their needs. She said she believed every person deserved respect whether they were at the top or the bottom. The audience clapped softly and some people smiled because her words felt real. Ron remembered how he used to treat Anya when they first married. He remembered listening to her and caring about her thoughts. Somewhere along the way he had traded that care for pride. The more Anya spoke the more Ron felt the weight of his choices. He realized he had been ashamed of the wrong thing. He had been ashamed of a woman who had more depth and strength than anyone in that hall. He had chosen a shiny image over a real partner. And now everyone could see the truth even if they did not know the details. Anya reached the end of her main talk and thanked the audience. The room filled with loud applause. Many people stood up. Ron stayed seated because he did not trust his legs. He felt like the ground under him was no longer stable. He did not know what would happen when Anya came down from that stage. He did not know if she would look at him or speak to him. He did not know if he deserved any of it. Myra returned a few minutes later but she did not sit down. She leaned in and told Ron she was leaving. Her voice was calm but firm. She said she did not want to be part of something that was built on lies. Ron nodded. He did not argue. He knew she was right. She walked away and this time she did not look back. Ron sat alone as Anya stepped off the stage and was surrounded by people congratulating her. He saw leaders shake her hand and praise her work. He saw smiles and respect directed at her. He had never seen her like this and it hurt because it showed him how blind he had been. Anya slowly moved through the crowd as people spoke to her. Her eyes were focused and her posture strong. When she finally reached Ron's table the noise around them seemed to fade. They stood facing each other for the first time that night. Ron wanted to speak but his words felt stuck. Anya looked at him with calm eyes. There was no anger on her face. There was no sadness either. There was something else that made Ron feel even smaller. She thanked him for coming. Her voice was polite and distant, like she was speaking to a stranger. That hurt more than any harsh word could. Ron realized in that moment that he had lost something precious long before this night. The gala had only made it visible. The space between them felt wide and empty even though they stood close. Ron wanted to apologize. He wanted to explain. But he knew words might not be enough. Anya had built a world of her own while he was busy trying to escape his past. The night was far from over and Ron knew his true test had just begun, because facing the woman he once ignored was harder than facing any room full of powerful people. Anya did not wait for Ron to speak, and she gently moved past him as more guests came to congratulate her. Ron stood there for a moment, feeling invisible in a way he had never felt before. All his life he had tried to be noticed, yet now he wished no one was watching. He slowly followed her at a distance, not close enough to interrupt, yet not far enough to let her slip away. Every step felt heavy, like he was walking through water. Anya moved through the hall with calm grace. People greeted her with respect, and some even asked for advice. She answered with quiet kindness and thoughtful words. Ron watched this and felt something twist inside him. This was the woman who sat across from him at their small kitchen table, sharing ideas that he never listened to. This was the woman he thought was simple. Now the whole hall was listening to her, and he was the one who felt small. After some time, Anya stepped into a quieter area near the tall windows that looked out over the city lights. Ron finally gathered the courage to approach her. He stood a few steps away, unsure of what to say. Anya turned to him when she noticed his presence. Her face was calm, but her eyes were steady and clear. Ron tried to smile, but it did not feel right. He said her name softly. Anya nodded as if acknowledging a colleague. That small distance in her tone made his heart sink. He told her she had spoken well. She thanked him in the same polite way. There was no warmth in her voice, and that hurt him more than if she had shouted. Ron took a deep breath and said he did not know about her work. Anya looked at him for a moment, then said that was true. She told him she had tried many times to share, but he was always busy or tired. She said she stopped trying after a while. Her words were not angry. They were simple and honest. That made them heavier. Ron felt the weight of those years pressing on him. He said he was sorry. He said he had made mistakes. Anya listened without changing her expression. She said being sorry was easy when everything was already visible. She said the hard part was showing care when no one was watching. Ron could not argue because she was right. The city lights reflected in the glass behind her, and for a moment Ron remembered how they used to dream together when they were young. He remembered how Anya would talk about building something meaningful and how he would promise they would grow together. Somewhere along the way he had started walking ahead alone and left her behind without even noticing. Ron admitted that he had been ashamed. He said he thought she did not fit into his new world. The words were painful to say, but he forced them out. Anya closed her eyes for a brief second, then opened them again. She said she had felt that distance for a long time. She said she used it as a reason to focus on her own path. She said if he could not walk beside her, she would walk forward alone. That truth hit Ron harder than anything else. He realized she did not build her success to impress him. She built it because she needed to survive the loneliness he had created. He wanted to reach out to her, but he stopped himself. He was afraid of crossing a line that no longer belonged to him. People passed by them talking and laughing, and the gala continued like nothing special was happening. Yet for Ron this moment felt like the center of the night. He asked Anya what would happen now. She looked at him quietly and said she did not know yet. She said she was still thinking about her future and what kind of life she wanted. Ron felt fear rise in his chest. He had always assumed Anya would be there waiting for him no matter what. Now he saw that was never promised. She was her own person with her own goals. He asked if there was any chance to fix things. Anya did not answer right away. She said trust did not return just because someone realized their mistake. She told him she needed time and space to think. Ron nodded. He wanted to argue. He wanted to beg. But he knew that would only prove how little he had learned. He agreed to give her what she asked for, even though it hurt. As Anya turned to leave, Ron felt like something important was slipping through his fingers. He watched her walk back into the crowd where people still wanted her attention. He stood there alone by the window feeling smaller than he ever had before. The night that was meant to boost his image had shown him his own reflection instead. Myra was gone. The guests were busy. Ron had nothing to hide behind anymore. He realized he had to face the truth of who he had become and what he might lose because of it. The pride that once drove him now felt empty. The gala slowly moved toward its closing moments, and Ron knew that when the lights went down he would have to go home to a quiet house. For the first time he was not sure if Anya would be there. The thought scared him more than any business failure ever could. He left the hall later than he planned. The night air felt cold on his skin. The city lights still shone, but they no longer impressed him. He looked at his phone and saw no messages from Anya. He did not know where she had gone after the gala. He only knew that the distance between them was now very real. As he drove home, Ron felt a mix of regret and hope. He knew he had hurt the one person who believed in him when he had nothing. He also knew that change was possible if he was willing to do the work. The question was whether it was too late. The road ahead was unclear, but one thing was certain. The man who walked into that gala was not the same man who was driving away from it. And the next choice he made would decide if he would lose Anya forever or find a way to stand beside her again. Ron reached home late that night, and the house felt quiet in a way that made his heart feel heavy. The lights were off in most rooms and the air felt still. He slowly walked inside and looked around as if he expected Anya to be there waiting. Her shoes were near the door, and that gave him a small sense of relief. He sat down on the couch and held his head in his hands. For the first time in a long while he felt truly alone with his thoughts. Anya came home not long after. She placed her bag on the table and took off her coat. She looked tired but calm. Ron stood up when he saw her. He wanted to speak, but he waited because he knew rushing would only make things worse. Anya met his eyes and nodded slightly, then moved to the kitchen. Ron followed slowly and stood a few steps away like he did not want to cross a line. The silence between them was deep. Ron finally said he was sorry for everything. He said he was sorry for ignoring her and for hiding her and for making her feel small. He said he realized too late how much she meant and how strong she really was. His voice was low and honest. He did not try to sound impressive. He only tried to sound true. Anya listened while pouring herself a glass of water. She did not interrupt. When he finished, she turned to him and said she had waited a long time to hear those words. She said she had felt invisible beside him even though she was working so hard to build her own life. She said being unseen hurt more than being alone. Ron nodded. He said he was afraid. He said he was afraid of looking small next to her, and instead of growing with her he tried to hide her. He admitted he chose pride over partnership. Those words were difficult, but they needed to be said. Anya looked at him with eyes that showed both pain and strength. She said she had built her success not to show him up but to stand on her own. She said she did not want to depend on someone who did not see her. She said she still cared about him, but caring was not the same as trusting. Ron felt a knot in his chest because he knew he had to earn that trust back. Ron asked if he could try. He said he wanted to learn to listen and support her the way he should have before. He did not ask for things to go back to how they were. He said he wanted to build something new and better if she was willing. Anya thought for a long moment. The room was quiet except for the soft sound of the clock. She said change was not proven by one night or one speech. She said it was shown by small actions over time. She said if he was serious he would have to show respect not just when people were watching but when it was only the two of them. Ron agreed. He said he would do whatever it took. Days passed and Ron began to change his habits. He stopped staying out late for no reason. He asked Anya about her work and listened when she spoke. He helped around the house without being asked. He tried to be present in ways he had forgotten. Anya noticed the effort even though she did not rush to forgive. They began to share small moments again, like morning coffee and quiet talks. Ron realized how much he had missed those simple things. He saw how strong and kind Anya was and how her quiet nature held deep power. He felt proud of her in a way he never had before. Anya slowly allowed herself to feel hopeful. She saw that Ron was trying to change not just for show but because he understood what he had almost lost. She did not forget the pain, but she did not let it control her either. She believed people could grow if they truly wanted to. One evening Ron surprised her with a small dinner at home. There was no fancy setup, just warm food and soft light. He told her he wanted to celebrate her success. Anya smiled gently. It was not a big smile, but it was real. Ron felt something warm in his chest. He knew this was a step in the right direction. They talked about the future. Anya shared her goals and Ron listened with respect. He did not try to control or compete. He wanted to support. Anya saw that and it made her feel safer than she had in a long time. The memory of the gala still lingered, but it no longer felt like a wound. It felt like a turning point. Ron learned that true strength was not about looking powerful but about standing with someone in honesty. Anya learned that her voice was strong enough to shape her own world. They were not perfect and the past was not erased, but they were moving forward with more understanding. The house that once felt cold now felt warmer. It was filled with quiet hope and new beginnings. In the end, the night that was meant to show Ron off had shown him something far more important. It showed him the value of the woman he had almost lost. And for the first time he was ready to walk beside her, not behind or ahead but together.